long as it's been on.
Yeah, it is.
Huh?
Sounds like a goofy one.
I think the tape was cut. It's okay, we're in business.
All right.
Come on in.
Who fixed it?
You know those,
Wow.
those movies?
Joseph.
Joseph did it?
Well, I have the 10 minutes of the movie.
No, it's staying on.
I think the tape was caught.
Oh,
Okay. Oh, this is great. Okay.
no.
Hey, Herm, well, start by telling us how old you were when you went in.
17. I joined on my 17th birthday.
Well, weren't you supposed to be 18 to join
No,
up?
no, 17 if you had permission. As long as you had permission from your parents, you'd go in when you were 17.
And so your mom and dad said that was okay?
Yeah, well, they didn't like it, but they okayed it.
Did they try to talk you out of it?
Yeah, my dad did. He said he didn't want me to go, but
Did you know right then and there you wanted to go into
no,
the Navy?
I wanted to go. Yeah.
I mean, did you know it was the Navy you wanted to go into?
Yeah, yeah. So right on my 17th birthday, I went down and I signed up, and about a month later, I went in, and they sent me up to Idaho for boot camp, Farragut, Idaho. It was a new boot camp up there. There were 5 camps, and they were just putting them together, just building them at the time. And I went through boot camp up there, and then from there they sent me to Seattle to pick up a ship.
Wait, how long was boot camp?
Boot camp was 6 weeks.
Same as the Army? Were they all pretty much the same?
Yeah, and the ship that I was supposed to go on, that I was assigned to, was up in the Aleutians at the time.
Where's that?
The Aleutian Islands off Alaska.
Well, and were you already trained for a specific job at the end of boot camp?
No. They
Oh,
just send
this
you
was
to
further
boot camp,
training?
and that's it. No schooling, no nothing. They just give you a general training.
And then you put you right on a ship then after
Yeah,
that?
yeah. Right from there, from boot camp, they put me on. I got on a ship at Seattle, because my ship that I was assigned to was in the Aleutian Islands at the time. So they put me on a tanker in Washington there, Bremerton, Washington, and I went from there up to Alaska, see, and I picked them, and they put me on, they dropped me off on the island of Kiska, because the ship was out on patrol at the time. So I stayed there on the island for, maybe a month or something like that, and then when the ship came in, then I got on the ship.
What'd you do for the month while you were on the island?
I worked in the sailmaker's loft. Rope stuff, tying knots and making fenders and stuff like that. Sewing tarpaulin and stuff like that.
And what year was this? You were
43, that was in 1943. Yeah, 1943. And then when the ship came in, it was the Fleet Minesweeper I was waiting for, the AM 101 USS Herald. So I got on that when it came back in from patrol duty, and I was on that about a couple months, and we went into a big storm up there, and it picked up the ship and it threw it on close to the beach on the rocks, and it knocked a hole in the bottom of it in the ship. So we didn't have no power. It took on water, and we were getting ready to abandon ship and go on Kiska there. And they decided that we didn't have no electric, no nothing. Everything was shut off because of the water on it. So then they brought some diesel tugs in to pull us off of that thing. So, it was cold too. Oh man, it was cold.
How cold was it?
Well, I don't remember what the temperature was, but if you fell in the water, you froze to death in 12 minutes. I know that.
Oh, this
Like
was
the
up on
Titanic.
Alaska.
Yeah, off Alaska, yeah, Aleutian Islands. So anyway, they hooked us up with 5 tugs hooked onto us, diesel tugs, with cables. You know, we had a roll of cables out by hand, big spools of cables. But anyway, they had 5 of those hooked up to us, and they couldn't pull us off. So we were going to abandon ship. So there was a steam tug up there. The captain was from St. Louis. I can't remember what his name is anymore. I think it was Poupinet, if I remember right. But anyway, he come in with that steam tug, and he was an old timer. He hooked up to the back of our ship and drug us right off of that thing. And
How big was the ship though?
Oh, the one I was on was only a small ship, 220 feet long. It's 220 feet long and about 20 feet wide, and it drew about 6 or 7 feet of water. But anyway, he pulled us off of the rocks And our captain, he was scared to death. He thought we were going to sink and everything like that. And he kept pleading with that captain on that tug just to tow us into the beach and leave us lay there. And the captain on the tug finally just shut the radio off and just drug us right through the inland pass down through Alaska and drug us right down to Bremerton, Washington. Drug the ship down there, towed us down there. I forget how many days it took, but we went down through the inland pass to come from the Aleutian Islands. We took the inland pass and came down and went into Bremerton in the shipyards. And we were in the shipyards there, about, I guess about 2 months having that thing repaired. And then when we got it fixed and repaired, then they sent us down to the South Pacific then. Then we went down to, right from Bremerton, we went right on. Well, there's a little part in here I ain't telling, I don't guess, where I was in the brig and then.
Tell that part.
Well,
we'd like to save that for the family history.
Well, anyway, when we were at Bremerton there, I had been up in the Aleutians 10 months, is what it was. I was up there for 10 months, so when we came back to Bremerton, they had the ship repaired. As soon as we got it repaired, they were going to send me right down to the Pacific right away. I says, well, I'm not ready to go yet. So when we were ready when the ship was going to go out, I jumped ship and crawled over the fence, and I went in Bremerton. That's right across from Seattle, right across from Puget Sound. I went in there and I jumped ship and I stayed about 2 weeks, AOL. And then when I turned myself in, they grabbed me and they threw me in a prison there, see, at Bremerton, in the Marine prison there, see. So anyway, they kept me in there, I don't know, a couple, 3 weeks or something like that.
Wait a minute, Herm, what were you thinking when you said you weren't ready to go?
Well,
weren't ready to go to the Pacific? Weren't ready to...
No, I liked it. I was having a good time here. I mean, Seattle here, bumming around and everything like that. I was having a good time there. So I wasn't ready to go over yet. So...
And was it supposed to be on your timetable?
What?
The war?
Oh yeah, sure, naturally. Yeah. So anyway, when I got out of the brig, now this was a funny part.
Wait, what was the brig like?
It was a Marine. Oh, it was nasty.
Was it awful?
Yeah, it was bad. It was a ship in Bremerton, but it was for the Marines.
Yeah.
But when they got crowded, they threw anybody in there.
What kind of people were in there? Huh? What kind of people were in there?
Well, everything. There was young guys that committed murder and everything. Young guys, all different things. But anyway, it was so funny. All I did was just jump ship for a couple weeks, and when they took me off of that prison ship there, they put me on a train under guard, handcuffed, with 2 guards, and they went all the way with me to California.
Like you were so dangerous.
Yeah, like I was a killer.
You were under armed guard?
Under armed guard, yeah. 2 guards, and they took me down, to Coronado Island down there. That's off out of San Diego. And when I got down there, all my gear, somebody stole it. When I was in the sailmaker's loft, I had a special sea bag made up with zippers on it and everything where you could just unzip it. And boy, it was a dandy with a hand. So when I got down, all my gear was in there. So when I got down to the brig down there, none of my gear came through. Somebody stole it is what happened.
Yeah.
So anyway, they kept me in the brig there for about a month, I guess. And they fined me, they broke me, they made me from 3rd class to a seaman. And my prison time was, I had 6 weeks down there. So, when I got out of there, I was going to go on leave, I was going to go on the beach for a few days. They took me right from the brig, and they took me right down and put me on a sub chaser. I never even got on ground. They shot me right on down.
I guess they figured you had your fun already.
Well, I guess. So anyway, they took me put me right on that PC it was, a sub chaser, and I got on it and we headed right for the South Pacific.
What's a sub chaser?
So what does a sub chaser do?
Chase the subs. Submarine.
Yeah, it goes after submarines on patrol duty and different things like that. So anyway, they sent me down to Hawaii. That was our home base then. See, in other words, that's where we docked, see, at Hawaii. And from Hawaii, that's when I run into her brother, Bob. I was on leave one day and ran into him.
In Hawaii?
In Hawaii, yeah.
What part of the service was he in?
Huh?
What was he doing?
He was in the Army. Well, the way it was, they would only leave you have shore duty during the day. They wouldn't leave you out at night down there, none of the services. Unless you knew somebody on the beach that lived there and you got a letter from them and they told you that you could stay there at night. But they wouldn't leave you, they wouldn't leave you on the beach by yourself at night. In other words, if you wanted to get on shore duty and get a hotel or a no, you had to have. So anyway, we go out in the daytime. They leave us off the ship about 10 o'clock in the morning. And you go out to a tavern and drink and everything like that. And then you had to be back by, I don't know, 5 or 6 o'clock. So anyway, naturally, we get drunk. The first thing we do as soon as we got to the beach, we'd start drinking booze and going to the taverns and everything like that. And with Bob, he was coming back from Honolulu, see. He was coming back on an Army truck. And they were all loaded in the back of it. Well, whenever you wanted to go back to your ship, if you saw an Army truck or something like that, you just jumped on it and went with them, So, man, I couldn't hardly walk. And we were running and everything like that, and we was running to catch this Army truck. And I grabbed on the back of it, and here somebody grabbed me and pulled me on, and here it was her brother, Bob.
Did you already know Grandma?
Yeah, well, sure. I knew Bob, and yeah, sure, I know.
They'd been dating for, what, a couple years before you went in, right, Herm?
Oh, yeah, 13. Yeah, we was 13 when me and her started going. But anyway, here's the guy that grabbed me and pulled me on the ship. Here it was Bob, her brother. And he didn't drink or anything like that. But anyway, so then they, like I say, they dropped us off down at the pier where we were supposed to go when we got on the ship. And then Bob was supposed to leave, and he was supposed to go to the Mariana Islands, I think. They were just starting to invade those. So we left the next day too. But I never did see Bob anymore. But we went down there, and then we went down and we swept all the mines on the islands, only Kwajalein, Eniwetok, and Roy, and everything like that.
And wait, talk about what was involved in sweeping the mines.
Well, see, there were 3 kinds of mines that you would sweep. Some of the mines were anchored with cables. Some of the mines went off from the noise of the screw, and some of the mines were magnetic. They attracted to the boat. Mm-hmm. So you had on the ship, you had 3 different kinds of things. In the front of the ship, now it was so funny. On the front of the ship, on the bow, they had big hammers. And those big hammers would beat on the side of the ship to make more noise and screw. That was one of the deals. So you can imagine what that was with all that noise. And then you had what they called degaussing gear. You'd have to take your watches and everything that was magnetic, and you'd have to put it in a safe, in a lead-lined safe. And they had cables about that big around. And you would hang it out the back of your ship, and a big circle like that, and it would come back, and then you would go through the minefield with that and sweep that, see. And then you would go through with what they called paravans. They was long things, maybe 8 or 9 feet long, and they looked like a torpedo, And you drug those on cables like this out on the side of your ships like that, see. And those mines that were on cables, you'd catch them on this cable, and it would drag those cables up, and they had cutters on those cables, and that cutter would cut the mine loop, and then it would pop to the surface, and then you would shoot the mine. You would blow the mine up, see, that way.
And was there any danger of you detonating those things while you were trying to sweep them?
That's what I'm trying to tell you. The ship the kind that I was on, what was a fleet mine sweep, they lost 2 out of 3 of them every time they swept the fields.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And the reason they did is because they were all metal and they drew too much water. too low in the water,
Yeah,
too deep.
yeah.
So whenever you get at the end of the minefield and you'd swing around like that, you know, it's just like you. So anyway, they'd lose two out of three of them is what it amounted. So anyway, when it all ended up, they finally took those and gave those to the British. Those ships. Oh, we swept the Marshalls, we swept the Marianas, and we swept Iwo Jima, and we swept in the Philippines. We swept about 5 or 6 different, you know, islands, I guess. But when it got down to the end of it, they were losing so many of them that they gave them to the English. They turned them over to them with that Lend-Lease or whatever.
Yeah, the Lend-Lease. I thought that was the beginning of the war.
Well, but anyway, our engine rooms, they were immaculate. The deck plates, they were metal grids, you know, like, and every watch you would take and wipe those down with an oily rag, and your engines were all painted white. And before you relieved the watch, that was all be wiped off, and it was just clean as could be, just like. We turned them over to the English, and the next time we came into port, they were tied alongside of us. We went and looked the ship over, and everything in the engine room was painted black. Crummy. I mean crummy. And those English, when we would we tie alongside those English ships, taking stores on, you'd carry a sack of potatoes in, a potato or something would drop off, or you'd grab those potatoes and take off with them. Like if they, I don't know what the deal was, if they were hungry or...
They were a lot hungrier than we were, huh?
But that was really funny. So, anyway, then after, like, that fleet minesweep, that after I got jumped ship and went on the subchaser, well, that was when I ended up on that, see. And that subchaser, what that would do, mostly, that would be with convoys. And then down on Saipan down there, when they got the B-29s in, the ones that could go in and go into Japan, fly into Japan, well, they take up off of Saipan, see. And they were so heavy that when they would come off the end of the island like that, they would just drop down off the water about 25 feet. And they would stay that way because they were so heavy, it might be 20 or 25 miles before they could get up in the air.
Really?
Yeah, so we'd go out about 25 or 30 miles and wait out there in case any of them would crash.
Really?
In case so you could pick up survivors, but we never did. We never had to pick any of them up. But that's what they would do. They would come off that island, and you could see them come off the end, and they just drop down like that, and then they just...
What kind of bombs were they carrying?
Just regular bombs. This was before that. This was before the atomic bomb.
But the bombs is what were making them so heavy.
They had the bomb load sure was heavy. They had a heavy bomb load, and then all the fuel and everything they was carrying. So to get to Japan, that was before they had Iwo Jima. So they'd get to Japan and everything and back. So like I say, we'd go out about 25 or 30 miles and wait out there, and quite a few of them crashed, you know, out there. So, but anyway, the biggest picnic I thought was at Iwo Jima. Whenever they invaded Iwo Jima, they lost all kinds of Marines. Well, when before we come to Iwo, a couple days before that, it was warm. I mean, the temperature and everything was real warm. And we started heading up towards Iwo Jima, and man, we'd come out in the morning and here it was cold out. Had to put your coats on and stuff like that. So the Marines went into Iwo and invaded that. I think they lost about 5,000 people, 5,000 soldiers.
That was really a bloody battle, wasn't
it?
it?
It was a bad one. So then after they, who is that?
Becky. You come in, Becky. You come in.
After they landed there, the part that I really liked was really a show. Is all those Japanese, they were holed up in caves on that island. And we were real close, I mean, where you could see real good. And the Marines would crawl down on the side of those cliffs on the cable, and they'd have flamethrowers.
Oh.
And they'd whip those babies down inside them caves and shoot those flamethrowers off, and boy, the Japs would come running out of there on fire.
Flying.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like, remember what we saw in Private Ryan?
Oh, yeah,
I saw this on All Quiet on the Western Front.
Yeah.
They did that in the trenches, too.
Oh, yeah. And the same way with hand grenades, or they'd throw hand grenades in there. They'd crawl down on ropes on the side and throw hand grenades in there and blow them out of there and everything like that.
How long did that battle last at Iwo Jima?
Oh, I don't think that was just too long. A few days, I think, is about all it held up. Didn't last very long. And then at Kwajalein there, in the Marshalls, when we went in there, that was the first one we went into. Now those islands are atolls. It's like a crest of a volcano. See, and part of it's underwater and part, like that. So we went in there and we swept the mines, and we go in the middle there, and you could look right over on the beach and you'd see the Japs over there with their rifles walking around and everything over there. But they would never shoot any heavy guns at us.
Why not?
Because the battleships and the cruisers was sitting out 10 miles in back, and as soon as somebody would fire in there, them battle wagons would lob in there and blow them out of there. So all they would do was shoot their rifles at us. That would be all.
They shoot the rifles at you?
Yeah, on the ship, yeah. And then at night, we'd be patrolling in there, and we'd be watching them. And those Japs, what they would do, they would run along, try to get from one of those little bitty islands to another island. It was shallow. The water was shallower, maybe a foot or two. And you could hear them splashing and running across the water like that. So we'd sit there in the middle of that thing, and we have a big floodlight, and you'd hear somebody flashing, and then you'd turn that floodlight on, and then you'd see them Japs running across there, and then you'd shoot them, machine gun them down, see?
You did?
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever do that?
Yeah. No, I didn't do the machine gun. No, I was on a 20 millimeter. But anyway, and then you had to watch them at night all the time. They'd swim out and throw hand grenades up on the ship. They'd swim out there. And throw hand grenades up on the top of the ship, and if you'd watch them. So somebody had to be sitting there all night. You'd have a guy with a machine gun sitting up there watching, and have a spotlight, and they'd keep it on the water all night.
The guy who always threw the hand grenade, would he always get shot?
Oh, sure. They'd watch it. They'd be on watch all night watching them do that. And then sometimes the ocean was so rough it was unbelievable. And then other times the ocean was just like a lake. We'd stop out in the middle of the ocean somewhere, and swim right up the side of the boat. Maybe 300-400 miles from an island or something like that, just nothing around. And they'd put a boat out there for a shark watch. They'd put a boat out there to run around the perimeter like that, and then you'd have a guy up with a machine gun watching, so there was no sharks coming. And then everybody would swim right up the ship, right off the side, right, maybe 200 miles from an island or something like that, in the middle of the ocean.
So when you guys would go in and sweep this area, then when the battle occurred, you just kind of pulled back and you could watch, or did you have to leave the area?
No. We'd go in 3 days before the fleet went in. We'd always go in 3 days ahead of the invasion.
Yeah.
And what? And those atolls down there, those islands, those atolls, when you saw those things were just beautiful. They're close to the water naturally, and they're not just covered with palm trees.
Were they inhabited by anybody?
Oh yeah, natives was on there. And the whole thing was just covered just solid with palm trees. And when the Navy would get done with them, it'd be flat. Tree on it. All you'd see was stumps sticking up there before they didn't.
They just cut them all down, or?
Well, guns they'd shoot when they's firing on the beach. They'd be firing on the beach if try and kill anybody that was over there.
And it just demolishes
And it
everything.
demolished all the trees. I mean, it was just wouldn't be a tree on the whole thing. It would just be flattened out.
Right. When you were sweeping, were these Japanese people shooting at you all the time? Was there...
What? When you're sleeping?
When you're doing the sweeping?
Oh, yeah. Like a Kwajalein, sure. Rifles only, though. No heavy guns. They would never fire a heavy gun at us. Because if they did, like I told you, the battleships or the cruisers would open up and blow them right out of there. Yeah. Yeah, but it was beautiful down there. I loved it down there. Yeah, that was a great experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Really?
Oh.
You know what, Herm? I bet there's a lot of guys that went through World War II that wouldn't say that.
Oh man, I loved it.
Yeah.
I really did.
Despite all the
You're
bad
lucky.
things.
I thought it was great. When you're 17 or 18 years old, you're stupid. You don't think you're ever going to get hurt or anything.
Did you-
You don't think anything's ever going to happen to you.
But did you see a lot of death?
Oh yeah. As a matter of fact, you know, at Saipan there, where all them they committed suicide. You know that the Japs told them that the Americans was going to rape them and beat them up and kill them and shoot them and. Well, we came into Saipan, well, we swept Saipan for one thing. But anyway, when we came into Saipan, we was looking around there, and it looked like mattress covers floating in the water. That's what we thought it was. We thought it was mattress covers or sheets or something like that. And when we got our binoculars out and looked at it, it was women with their babies in their arms and men bloated up, that committed suicide off the island there. They jumped off the cliffs because they was afraid that we were going to, harm them. So they committed suicide. Japanese told them that when the Americans come over, they're gonna do bad things to you.
What's the point of inciting their own people, though, to
I
that
don't
point?
know. I don't know why they did that, but that's what they did. You leaving? Okay.
Yeah.
Grandma swept today.
What?
Grandma swept today.
Yeah, I know. That's what she said.
So anyway, that's about the size of it. That's about all. And with the atomic bomb deal. Now, when we went in and swept Iwo Jima, we were supposed to go to Okinawa, and I don't know if we were down there for 22 months at that time already. Well, our time was up, so we were supposed to come back to the States and get outfitted again and get repaired or whatever had to be done.
Did you
So
know
we-
it was getting close to the end by then?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Pretty much knew that?
Oh yeah. Well, Okinawa was the last one, see? So instead of going to Okinawa, we came back and was going to come back to the States. Well, when we were on our way back, that's when we heard about the atomic bomb. They dropped the atomic bomb, see? And we didn't even know what it was. You know, we was wondering what the deal was, you know. And we never even heard of it when they dropped the
Was
atomic
that
bomb.
how everybody was? They didn't know.
Yeah, we didn't know nothing about it. Yeah. No, didn't know what it was when they said they dropped the atomic bomb. We didn't know what they was talking
Did
about.
they tell you right then the war was over?
Oh, yeah, well, no, but we knew it was going to be right over. That was just like when jet planes, when I was down there in Coronado, in that prison down there, these planes come over, these jet planes come over. We didn't even know what the hell they was. No propellers, no nothing. We didn't know what they were.
Never heard of jet planes?
No, we didn't know what they were.
Were those
Jets? Yeah, see, they were using them P-51s.
The props?
Yeah, oh sure, yeah. They were using P-51s and everything. And when they come out with those jets, we didn't even know what they was. When we was in the brig down there in Coronado, they had German prisoners down there at that same camp. There might be 100 or 150 of them lined up marching. They'd have one guard at the back and one at the front. And when we would go out, they'd have one guard for each guy. That's the way they did. Them Germans had...
Well, that doesn't make any sense.
I know, but I guess they figured, well, if they got
Where are they
away-
going to go?
Yeah, where are they going to go? I guess they figured they couldn't go anywhere, you know. But with us, when we went out on a work detail or anything like that, you'd have a guard for every man.
Were the Germans treated as equally as you were, do you think, in there?
Oh, no, I think they was treated better.
No way.
Oh, absolutely. We'd see them out there playing soccer, you know, playing soccer and dancing around and having a good time. And we were in there scrubbing pots and washing our clothes and stuff like that. Oh, no, we thought they had a good deal going.
Why is that? I thought sure you would say that they were...
Oh, no, and they loved it, too. Oh, no, they loved it. And the biggest...
Odd.
biggest dogfight planes I saw when we were down there, when we were at Saipan. They got the word that Japanese planes were coming over. They figured there was about 350 of them. So we had broke their code and knew that. And when they came over, we had about 400 planes from carriers ready for them. So there was about 700 or 800 planes in the air dogfighting at one time down there.
And you saw that?
Oh yeah, are you kidding? Sure.
Wow.
You know, I heard the Japanese planes were better than ours.
Oh,
The
yeah,
Zeros
they were.
better than ours. They're quicker and more maneuverable.
And then whenever
Really?
whenever the planes would come over, well, that was up until they got the I think it was a P-50. They was using the P-38, and they weren't as fast, and they couldn't maneuver. And then they got the P-51s, and I think those are the ones that. But anyway, whenever they were going to come over and like bomb the convoy or anything like that, we had smudge pots on the back of our ship.
What's that?
They were like big generators, smoke generators.
Oh,
They're
so
about
they
that
couldn't
big
see it.
around,
They
and
couldn't
we'd
see
light
shit.
them babies up, and you couldn't see anything. Everything would be. All you could hear was they'd be dropping bombs. You'd hear them hit the water and explode, and that was all. But couldn't see a thing.
You were scared during all that, right? No?
I'm telling you,
You really never thought anything was going to happen
I never
to you?
thought anything of. I can remember whenever we were sweeping mines, I always had the depth charge duty. That's what I watched after the depth charges, and I can remember us sitting on the back of that ship like that and swinging around, and we knew how many of them went down from mines, and we just didn't think about anything of it. You'd hit one of those mines, and a ship that size, if it hit it, it would take half of the ship.
Jeez.
That ship was 220 feet long. It would take half of the ship away.
And you lose 2 out of 3, and you didn't think.
And we didn't think anything of that. I can remember sitting on the back of that deck when we were sweeping mines and swinging around and everything like that, and we just never thought about that even.
Well, tell me, Herm, when you got home, did you find that any of your friends from the neighborhood and kids that?
Yeah.
And then did it hit you? That...
No. A guy that I used to bum with, his name was Arnold Reef. We graduated from school together. We bummed together all the time. Well, I didn't notice at the time, but he was in the Navy too, and he was a chef on a destroyer escort, and he got one of them kamikazes there at Okinawa, and he died there. He got killed on that. A kamikaze got him. See, but a lot of those kamikazes got him there at Okinawa. That's when they first started. I mean, we didn't see any of those at Iwo Jima or in the Philippines or any place. Never heard of it, see, up until Okinawa. And then at Okinawa, this is when they started using it. They knew they were finished. They knew the game was up.
Oh, that was the last ditch kind of thing, the kamikaze.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that was the last. They didn't have nothing left. I mean, they figured that the Navy was gone and everything. We had beat them at the Philippine Sea there. And I mean, our Navy was destroyed. Everything was gone, and that was the last ditch. That was the last hope they had, was those kamikazes there. And they had all kinds of them, too. They had a lot of them. I mean, volunteered for that. Well, of course, that was their religion. They figured they were dying for the emperor, see? So, but anyway, that was a great experience, boy. I think that everybody ought to have to go in for a couple of years. 2 or 3 years in the service, I think it'd be good for everybody. Myself.
You're pretty lucky
That's what I think
that you
about.
enjoyed that, because
I loved it. I thought it was great.
a lot of people don't.
I was at sea 34 months. I was only in there about 36 months. Every time I would get to the beach, I would want to get transferred out. I liked sea duty. I wanted to go out to sea.
When did you get out of the Navy?
I liked it. Washington's birthday, February the 22nd, 1946.
What did you do after
When I
the
got
war?
out,
After the war.
I lounged around and collected my 5250.
Is that what it was?
No,
What was your
52
wartime pay?
Huh?
What was your wartime pay? Was that what it was, a month?
Oh, no, that was what they gave us. You know what they make now? A private, $1,000 a month.
In the Army?
That's what they started at. Yeah.
Well, what did you make? Do you remember?
$32 a month is what the deal was at first. And then it went up to $50.
That was your combat pay?
$50 a month, yeah. That's what it ended up, $50 a month. And them guys are getting, that's what, they was just telling me the other day, $1,000 a month for a guy that just goes in the service, a private going in. $1,000 a month.
Well, still, when you think about it, that's only $12,000 a year. That's not that much above the poverty level.
Board,
Well, that's true.
clothing,
Yeah.
food. I mean, that's clear money. I mean, if you're down in the islands or someplace, you can't spend it anyway. Whenever, and you, like on the ship, you can't drink any beer or nothing. They don't allow you to have any beer. If you was on the ship and you got near an island someplace, they'd have a beer party. They'd take you over to the beach in a boat, in a pogie boat. You drink 2 beers, and then you'd come back. That was the deal. No, and the cigarettes. Oh, when I smoked then, the cigarettes were just moldy. You know, smoking them.
Yeah.
I don't know what the deal, if it was because they were so old or
Too much
what.
moisture in the air?
Oh, but the cigarettes were bad. They were just lousy.
So, Herm, were
Yeah.
you were still over there when the war ended? You weren't here then when the war ended? You don't remember VE Day here or VJ Day here? Where were you then?
Boy, that's what I'm trying to think. I must have, I can't remember if the war ended when we were on the way back.
Well, it was
Right
45, spring of 45.
After the atomic bombs there, or what? See, that was a 46 when we was coming back there.
Yeah, but I mean, the war was over in 45.
So I
You
must
must have still been there.
I must have just been there yet. I must have still been there.
Do you remember a big celebration or anything? Everybody going crazy?
I don't remember anything about that.
You don't?
No. I can remember, though, sitting at the table when we were eating. You know, that ship rolled so much that you'd have to have the tray on your lap when you eat.
Yeah.
Because, and one of the things that sticks in my mind, whenever you would get bread, you'd always hold the bread up to the light like that and pick the weevils out. I remember that. It's one of the things I do remember.
What about Pearl Harbor? Where were you?
Bread. No.
I mean,
wasn't in.
I know, but where were you? Do you remember what you were doing when you heard? Doesn't everybody your generation remember that?
I don't remember what the hell the deal was when February the 7th. I don't remember.
I guess you would have been about 15.
Yeah.
Not even 15.
Yeah, I was about 15 years old then. No, I don't remember what the deal was. I don't remember.
How about D-Day?
And like I say, well, I can remember that, but you know, the only thing I really remember when anything had happened is when Kennedy was killed. That was the only thing I can really think of where I was when that happened.
So you didn't have anything to do? Oh, you weren't in Europe at all, anywhere near?
Oh, no, I wasn't in
okay.
Europe. No, I wasn't over there at all. Never got over there.
What about your brothers? Were they in?
No, No, Fritz was too old, and Ray, that was another thing. I was down the South Pacific, and my brother Ray, he was like, he was 25 at the time. He worked at Nap Monarch, and he was a chrome plater. And he felt his nose one day and a bone crumbled out of his nose. And they went and examined him, and he had, his lungs were ate up from that acid, see. So anyway, I can remember he was down at Coke Hospital, and they were building J.B. Bridge at the time because he used to write and tell me about it all. But anyway, he died at Coke Hospital down there.
Is that the VA hospital now?
Huh?
Is that the
Yeah.
VA
No,
hospital?
no, it's not the VA, no.
I thought it was.
It's, no, it's right there, but it's not the VA hospital.
Oh, okay.
And they, as soon as he died, they sent a letter down to me on the ship there, and wanted me to come home. And I remember I had all my gear, and I was in the pogie boat, ready to go, ready to leave, and they stopped me and they says, "It's too late, your brother died already." So they took me off the damn boat, and
They wouldn't let you go home then?
no, I never got to come home. I never got to come home. Nope. I was in the boat and had all my gear and everything ready to come home, and they come over. The captain or whoever it was come up and says, "Your brother died already. It's too late. There ain't no sense in you." So I didn't.
Would you not have made the funeral?
No, I didn't get home for the funeral or anything. No. He was 25.
Was that the policy back then?
Huh?
Was that the policy? I don't know if they let everybody come.
Well, I don't know what the deal. I mean, that's what they said. I mean, they said there ain't no sense in you going home now. Your brother died already. So by the time you get there, everything will be over. I guess they figured. I don't know, but I never did get to come home for that when he died. So.
That's cold.
Yeah, I didn't think much of it either. I didn't think too much of it. And the captain on our ship there was from St. Louis too. He was a doctor here from St. Louis.
Really?
Yeah, the captain that.
Didn't cut any ice though, huh?
No, it didn't mean a thing. No, that was it. Forget about it. So that's about it.
Well, I think you got some good stuff, Jim.
Yeah, I think so,
That's
too.
really interesting, Herm.
Yeah. No, that's about all I can think of. I can't think of anything else. I mean, we up in the Aleutians. I remember well, with the Northern Lights and everything. You know all about that. But we used to depth charge submarines up there in the Aleutians all the time, and half the time it ended up being a whale. Oh yeah, pick them up on a sonar, you know, and we drop the depth charges off the back, and it'd be a whale you'd get. Now see, on Kiska, the Japs were on Attu and Kiska, right before I got up there. They were on Attu and Kiska. See, the Japs were going to invade through Alaska and come down through Alaska.
They were going to invade the U.S.?
That's what they were going to do. They figured on coming down through Alaska and coming down that way, see. And they were actually on Attu and Kiska. See, originally that was all Russian, see. There was Russians on there. As a matter of fact, when we were up there in Kiska, there was still a Russian trading post that was still there in use. But anyway, there wasn't much of a force on Kiska or Attu, but they blew them out of there in a matter of a month or so. They were gone. So nothing ever happened about that.
How did they get on Kiska, the Jazz?
They just come right from Japan, come right up to the islands.
Didn't we have any? Like,
No, that's
there?
it. No, no. We didn't have any defense up there at all. See, and that's when they sent them up there. That's when they started sending defense up there. Take care of that. But it was no big deal because, like I say, they knocked them off of Attu and Kiska real fast. Didn't take any time at all. They had them out of there. But they had a lot of Army troops up there. They kept a lot of Army troops up there. Nobody wanted it up there. It was too cold, too nasty. No trees at all up there. There was no trees on any of those Aleutian islands. It was just like the whole island would be covered like with a blanket of moss. You could just take and pick the moss up, and it'd be just like picking a blanket up, you know, and then it would just be nothing but rock under there. But there was not a tree. There was not a tree on them islands up there at all. Nothing. It was barren, cold and windy, bad ocean.
You were there for 10 months?
Huh? Oh yeah, I was up there for 10 months. Yeah, I was only on the beach for 2 months though. I was on a ship. I was on a ship after that. After I caught that fleet line swim. But that was a great experience. Oh, I really liked it.
I can't believe it. That's not at all what I was expecting to hear.
Oh yeah, I liked it. Oh man. Oh, if I'd have been in the Army, laying in mud up to my ears and everything, I wouldn't like. I would have liked to have had sub duty, but I didn't put in for it. You know, but that's what I would have liked to have sub duty because they had a good life.
There's no risk of.
Well, sure, there's a risk on anything.
More of a risk than what you had.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. But that was a great life, boy. I liked it. Like I say, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I really enjoyed it. That was some enjoyable years.
Oh no, that's exactly what we were looking for here.
Yeah.
That's
On record.